We were out of revisions at that point, and we had two choices. It was either to part ways or to pay additionally. And she's an amazing designer. It just wasn't along with the vision that we had for
it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Second Society podcast. Today I have my favorite human on this planet Earth here with me today. A special guest, my wife, Alexa. How you doing, babe?
Good. I am in the flesh. I actually exist, and I'm excited to finally show my face.
We've done so many episodes on the podcast so far. I've never had you on. You are hardly on Instagram, hardly kind of the face of Second Society, and now you're here. Yeah. Why are we here today? Why now?
We are rebranding Second Society after a year and a half, maybe it's been. We knew we wanted to rebrand eventually, and it is finally here.
Yeah, you probably have been seeing some sneak peeks on Instagram if you've been following us, but
it's probably just like, why are all these fonts different?
Why are the colors changing? It doesn't make any sense.
Or no one's noticed, but that is why. We are slowly introducing things, but we will do a big reveal all at once.
Yeah, but we wanted to do this video because rebranding is so important to us, and I think to a lot of different companies out there, especially in the wedding photography and videography world. And not only is it a big deal, but our journey specifically was a journey indeed. It was 9 months long. We went through 3 different designers before we found the designer that we went with and loved. And I just feel like it's a journey worth telling because there's reasons why we kind of went through this journey. And we've had, some crazy days and crazy weeks where we're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what we're doing. This doesn't feel right. Completely questioning everything, and I feel like it's really cool to kind of just talk through it with you, and hopefully give you guys some just insight on like why rebranding is so important, and maybe some do's and don'ts of rebranding, things you can possibly avoid while going through this process. So, well, first let's start off and just like kind of speak on to what you do with Second Society. What's your role behind the scenes?
Anything that can be systemized, organized, or automated, got my hands all over it. Yeah. I love it. I thrive in that environment and very organized. My brain just works that way. So I do all of those things.
That's true.
And a little bit of creativity here and there.
A lot of creativity. You come from a design background a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know your way around Illustrator way more than I do. Anything that I design is probably in Photoshop, which is the wrong way to do things. But that's the only program I know. She knows the right way. So you definitely have your eye on the creativity stuff as well. And you basically built everything in XD when we first originally designed Second Society. And so that was kind of all in your hands.
I didn't know XD. I just learned it because we had to, and we had to give them something to work with. Yeah. That was a whole other journey in itself, which we won't get into today.
What's
about
that?
Just like the building of Second Society and like what that looks like to build an app off the ground. So much that we learned, so much that we probably won't do again. And we can talk about that on another thing. Yeah,
but today is rebranding. So we'll start you guys off in the very beginning when we first were building Second Society. When we came up with the logo and colors and all that, we basically went with somebody that was a referral to us. That was kind of on the cheaper route, but also just pretty good in their own right. But the thing I think we went wrong was a lot of the inspiration was from my side of things. I really love extreme sports and adventure, and that's kind of what I look to like for inspiration. And so I would look at like all the snowboarding magazines and websites and all that kind of stuff, and all the colors and the branding and the ideas were based off of that. And it was a lot less like of a luxury boutique feel that we ultimately wanted to go with. And so, we got our logo and colors. We did that for a year. So now we've had this platform up and running for a year. We've had almost 2,000 people join, which has just been incredible, from all over the world. And what we're seeing is that like there's so many good artists that are joining Second Society, and it's been awesome because that's exactly what we want on this platform. But how do we attract, even more so these type of high-end videographers and photographers to our website? And that ultimately is going to come from rebranding and having just an epic, landing page when you first go to Second Society.
Yeah, just the brand story, I think, is showing what it's all about just by the first visit. And I think like the vision of Second Society has to come across. And right now we know that it doesn't, because we did our own branding and design, and that's not our specialty.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk about like, what are the cons of our branding right now? The initial thing that I think is just like, there's no real voice or character to our logo right now, or icon, right? It's just kind of designed, doesn't really have, there's no like idea or vision behind it. Same with kind of colors, but then also just the photos and the visuals of the website when you first like log in. It's like one main photo that I got from one of our friends. And then outside of that, there's really no visuals on there that are kind of showing you the type of artists that are on the platform.
Yeah, I think as the sales page is what you would call it as a whole is just lacking personality, and it's just very boxy and like stoic, I feel like. And that's so not what the brand is and where it's going. And so that's why with the new branding, what we want to do is highlight the artist of Second Society and make sure that the brand, which it does, complements the beautiful work that our whole community has.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some like incredible artists that are on there, way better photographers and videographers than I am. And so it's like, why not just elevate their work above like our brand or like the type of photos that we can come up with, right?
Yeah.
We've gone a year now, and now it's August of last year. And we're just starting to think of like, who's gonna, do our rebrand, and take us through kind of those like first initial steps.
Initially, we just wanted to refresh and get new fonts and colors. I think that that's what we thought was going to solve the problem. And little did we know that it didn't, and it still didn't feel like a full brand. Things just felt really separated. And so we decided to do a whole rebrand with a new designer. And we went through a couple iterations with her, and it just didn't land. Our alignment were off with the vision of what Second Society was and where we want to go. And you had such a particular vision of Second Society, and you did not settle. And I think that that's one of the biggest things in branding, is not to settle when you have something in your mind of where you want it to go. And I think you're so much more fulfilled now after the third iteration, third designer that we have found, and it's just come to life a lot more.
Yeah, so there's like a huge disconnect with our second designer. We went through this like huge like brand intensive of like, who's your ideal client? Who are your competitors? What's your brand voice? What are some words that describe what your brand is? And we did all that, and that was like really great. And I felt like, we're knocking it out of the park on just that type of communication that we had up front. And then when she delivered the design, I think it was just more adventurous than I ultimately wanted. And it's really hard because I am adventurous inside and out. Like, I love doing extreme sports. I love traveling, all these things. And so that's like who I am innately. So it's really hard to like be like, oh, I want something different than what I am. But I did. I knew that it had to appeal to like globally, right? It had to appeal to people in Europe and then Australia and the United States and all this stuff. And so how do you take like all these different types of places and cultures and combine them into one, website? It was like really hard to articulate, and we just couldn't get past that. I just feel like we kind of lost it. We probably did like 3 or 4 reiterations after that with the same designer, and it just wasn't hitting, and like communication was just kind of off.
And we were out of revisions at that point, and we had 2 choices. It was either to part ways or to pay additionally to what we had already paid. And we just chose to part ways because we just didn't want to take a chance of not liking it again and not hitting. And she's an amazing designer, and she did awesome iterations. It just wasn't along with the vision that we had for it.
Yeah.
And so then
the one thing that we did get out of it was the slogan, which is, it's good to be second. And I just feel like this idea, there's so many different like plays off of it, but just this idea that like, it's good to be second, or, being second is first type of idea.
Well, and just to elevating like the second shooter is actually really important. Like, people don't realize, they think it's like, oh, just hire anybody, but they are just as part of your brand, and the part of the wedding day as anybody else is.
And that's, again, what we want to have on this site, on this platform, is just completely filled with incredible second shooters. So really elevating and honoring all the second shooters that are on the platform, because they are amazing at what they do. They are incredible second shooters. And you probably had an experience with a few people where you're like, man, once I have that great second shooter, I don't want to go with anybody else. I'll pay them more money, right? That's just all about honor, because you see something in them, and that's exactly what we want to do with this site. So went through that designer, got the slogan out of it, paid a lot of money for that slogan, but then moved on to our fourth designer, which is Corinne, and she's just incredible. She's actually the designer for our wedding business, which is Roar Film Co. And so walk me through that.
Yeah, Corinne is just amazing. She just is a photographer herself, so she gets it, and we just immediately clicked. Like, she knew how to marry luxury boutique vibes with adventure and just keep it like really stylized and elegant, I guess is what the word I would be looking for is.
Yeah, and I think it like really appeals to all different types of wedding photographers and videographers, right? So like you could have an elevated adventure elopement photographer on there, you could have a high-end luxury photographer on there, and both of those styles are gonna like fit perfectly inside this platform.
Yeah, that's true, because the way that the branding has come out with the colors and fonts and how it can elevate any style is like bright and airy could look really good on there with our brand as much as adventurous elopement. And that was the point, is that we need to make sure that we can highlight all the different styles of the artists that are on our community.
Yeah, and so then at this point, we've spent so many months of, it not working out. And then we finally got here, and just like everything that she laid out for us, like step by step, and, everything that she kept building, we were just like, oh my God, you're crushing it. Like no changes whatsoever. And that was like the best feeling, because you're just like, oh my gosh, like my vision is coming to life. And she was able to do things that we never even thought were possible.
Yeah. I think that one of the biggest things I would say when choosing a designer or web designer is to really look at their portfolio and their work, because you need to be able to see your brand in their work and see that they're going to be able to execute. And we knew that by when we were looking for our last designer, we could see Second Society in all of her work. But now I look back and I couldn't see Second Society like what we wanted in the past designer's work. And so that's really important as when you're choosing somebody. Yeah,
and that's really good for like, when you're attracting your ideal client, right? Like they have to be able to see themselves in your work, see themselves in your branding. Like you can't just have okay branding and then like really amazing videos and just expect that the videos are gonna like, do the sales for you. Like they have to just be attracted to your website as a whole, be attracted to your brand.
Yeah, that's why it's a brand story. Like the colors, fonts, everything has to marry well with the work.
But we're so excited for where it's going, just because I feel like now we have a new platform that we can kind of stand on, and a new foundation, and just be like really excited to share it with the world, and especially like through the type of photographers and videographers that we want to attract to our brand. It's like we have it now. It's something that I'm like really confident with, and that's going to attract the right people to the platform.
Yeah, because the goal is to get as many people on the platform that are reliable and the same skill set that we would hire for our videography business, because that's when the platform works and that's what it's designed to do.
It's true. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions just about rebranding or the process, or if you want to get in touch with our designer, please like reach out or give any feedback that you can. Is there anything else that you wanted to reshare?
Along with the rebranding launch, we are also going to be launching the community app, which is already built, but it isn't launched yet. And so we want to launch everything at once. And the community app is just a place similar to Facebook groups, but we're just trying to get away from Facebook groups and just keep everything all in one app. We can host meetups, events, and just talk and have conversations in there.
Yeah, perfect story. So Jordan Jonty, if you're listening, shout out to you, my friend. But we connected through Instagram because I liked your work, and I saw that you were snowboarding one day, and I was like, dude, I love snowboarding, would love to snowboard with you one time. And he lives in Texas. And he was like, yeah, let's do a snowboarding trip. Got together, and now we're friends. And then we started second shooting for each other. And so like that connection came out of social media. Complete strangers, never met before. And so that type of like relationship that we've been able to build is the same thing that I want to come out of Second Society. I want to see the testimonies that come out of this community feature because of the meetups that are in there. And then not only meetups, but we want to do like workshops and conferences. We want all those that are happening all over the world to be in there, because like, I don't know about you, but I only know of like 3 or 4 different conferences or workshops that are happening throughout the year. But what if you knew about all of them and they're all in one place? So that's just another thing that I want to get out there for the users.
We just welcome feedback, we welcome ideas, and this is built for you guys, for everybody in our industry.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on this journey. Thanks for inviting Lex onto the podcast. It was great having you, babe.
Thanks.
And yeah, I think we're gonna have more episodes with you in the future. Hopefully, yeah. Thanks again for listening, guys.